Hello, everyone, and welcome to the third episode of The Verdict, and the final episode in Black History Month. I'm Alan Barty.
I'm Paul Schuhart.
And I'm Talon Jones.
For today's episode, we are going over Black-led films, and I'm happy to see that our choices are so distinct in tone and overall genre. We'll be looking at The Nutty Professor, Waves, and Bad Boys for Life. This is The Verdict. Spoilers ahead. The movie that I will be going over is the 1996 Nutty Professor featuring the comedy legend Eddie Murphy. Here's the trailer.
For Professor Sherman Klump, being the big man on campus was no laughing matter.
They got down where they hit Jimmy Hoffa.
You got to work out. You got to push a sweat. Got exercise.
Here we go. 1, 2.
His body was disproportionate.
Anything I can get for you? Juice, coffee, rack of lamb?
His family was dysfunctional.
I don't know why everybody trying to lose weight in the first place. You're talking about that's healthy. I know what healthy is.
And his love life
I'm a big fan.
Thank you very much. I'm fatter. Flattered.
was disastrous. But now, thanks to the miracle of science, he's about to make a change for the thinner.
You looking for any kind of clothes in particular?
Spandex. All spandex. Somebody better call an exorcist.
Your lip.
What?
Your lip is swollen.
Now that is very nasty.
So, The Nutty Professor is actually a remake of a 1963 film of the same name. And the thing about The Nutty Professor, like the character, basically, he's like this big professor who is making like this potion to actually make himself skinny. And it's actually Eddie Murphy, playing both characters. And he's also playing like his family at the same time, which I find very funny. Actually, I didn't know about that growing up.
As a kid, that actually really did shock me as well. Did you ever see the original Nutty Professor starring Jerry Lewis?
I have never seen that one.
I haven't either.
The original one was actually, I do consider both to be comedy classics. This is one of the few times where the remake is just good, if not better, than the original. But the original, he wasn't fat; he was just a dork. So the idea of the potion was it just made him more suave and cool. In this case, it actually made him thin, as well as suave and cool. So. Like, it's kind of cool that they adapted in a way where Eddie Murphy said, I don't want to just do a remake. I want to actually have a different story. I want my character to be more relatable, not just dorky. I want him to actually be someone that people can relate to. So.
Oh yeah, so the character of Sherman, you can actually look at this film as like a inspiration of like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, pretty much, of the mad scientist drinking a potion. Then he has the evil side and the good side.
That was Jerry Lewis's original intent, was it to be like a Jekyll and Hyde thing, even to the point of the first potion actually turning him into a monster in one scene in the original film. So yeah.
And the thing about this film is that actually, it may be a comedy, but it actually like does go over, what it feels like for someone of his weight to feel self-conscious about himself. Because there actually is a scene where he has like a crush on his woman, one of his colleagues and everything. And they actually go to this comedy club / restaurant, and the comedian up there just making fun of him, commenting on his weight, pretty much. And look, I'm maybe ashamed of myself because I actually laughed a few of them because they were funny. I'm sorry, but he does go home and he does chug down a whole bag of Skittles or some M&Ms and everything.
Hey, you really do feel bad for him in scenes like that, but I also had to laugh because it's Dave Chappelle up there. That was actually the comedian who was making fun of him was Dave Chappelle. So I was like, I don't want to laugh at him, but I am laughing because it is Chappelle. So, but yeah, Eddie he was just so vulnerable in the movie, and that's I think what sold the whole film for me.
Oh yeah, because like this was like during the the golden era of Eddie Murphy. Because the thing about this movie is that there was a point, even after this movie, where Eddie Murphy's career kind of took a nosedive when it comes to movies.
Pluto
Like
Nash, thank you.
there was movies like Norbit that we just brought up, and
Dave, I think, was another one that was pretty.
Haunted Mansion.
Oh, Haunted Mansion.
was this
yeah.
before or after? Was it Dr. Doolittle?
I think this was right before.
Yeah.
Eddie Murphy's his true like golden age was during the '80s after he was like the star cast member on SNL. Like he was the standout cast member. Everyone else, like SNL was really faltering. He was the only part people were tuning in to see. Then his movie career with movies like Trading Places, Golden Child,
Coming to America?
my favorite Coming to America.
Which I'm actually debating whether to do this or Coming to America, but I guess I watched this more than Coming to America.
Then he kind of had a slower period. Well, also his stand-up specials like Delirious. But he's kind of started to have like a downward spiral during the '90s. Nutty Professor was like his big comeback movie because right after this he did Dr. Dolittle, Shrek. So
I mean,
this
he was
wasn't-
like going to the
Daddy
area
Daycare,
of,
right,
like, at the
was
beginning,
another
he was like doing very like adult films. Oh, sorry, what were you saying?
Daddy Daycare was like another one.
Oh yeah, Daddy
I actually
Daycare,
like that movie.
which he actually didn't show up for the second movie. They replaced him with, I forgot who he replaced with, but they were just like, yeah, we can just find like another black man to replace him. So I mean, Eddie Murphy was in that area, you know, after especially the 2000s, where he just wanted to do like very much family films. Which there's nothing wrong with that. Of course, like the brother has a lot of kids. even now in the 70s, the brother had like another one. So, but yeah, you know, it was around this time after this movie where he just wanted to do like a lot of family films. But then it was kind of a moment where everyone still loved Eddie Murphy, but at that point, people just knew him from Shrek and from Mushu, from Mulan, and they didn't really talk
That's
about
another
him.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
He was busy.
Yeah, it was literally the late '90s was literally and early 2000s was literally the Eddie Murphy renaissance, but immediately took a downward
and
spiral.
if you
with
really
Pluto
think
Nash.
about it, he was the one that kind of puts that whole thing. Oh, all we need is like a sassy black man to voice his character. I even think we got what was it, Chris Rock in Madagascar?
Yeah.
Yeah,
All you gotta do is be loud and sassy, and you be good.
yeah.
Yeah, but going back to the movie, you know, like there was like one scene that I remember growing up is that scene where he like fell asleep and he starts to like grow bigger and everything. And I think this
I
movie,
think everyone knows that.
and I think this movie is the only movie where you can actually make a fart joke funny.
Yeah. Better than the sequel, where there's almost nothing but fart jokes.
I don't remember anything from the sequel.
Like I know that they remember that people liked the family in the first one, even though they're only in like 2 or 3 scenes. But people really seem to like them, so they practically made them the center of the sequel. And that was parodied to death afterwards. Movies like Tropic Thunder and stuff like that, where they were just like one actor playing a bunch of fat people in a family.
I mean, that started, you know, Eddie Murphy doing that in Coming to America when he played, you know, like the barber.
Actually, him and his co-star played a bunch of characters.
Yeah, he even played like the Jewish man
Yeah.
playing chess in the barbershop.
Oh no, my
which
favorite
I don't know if
character-
you can get away with that nowadays.
My favorite was sexual chocolates.
And they even did that thing Coming to America too. Which
I actually love the sequel. I actually really.
I know
loved
that
it.
people aren't fond. I know some people who aren't fond of the sequel think it's not good as the first one, but I digress. But you know, the thing about it is that you know, in our first episode of The Verdict, we talked about That's So Raven. There was actually an episode of That's So Raven where she actually did kind of do the same thing. It was when she went to visit her cousin, her family.
Country
And-
Cousins.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did do that.
Oh yeah. So Eddie Murphy like has inspired like a lot of comedians and everything, and I don't know. So I think he has, you know, transcended generation because I know my family grew up with him. I grew up with him because of, you know, stuff like Shrek and Mushu, all that kind of films. Also Dr. Dolittle, movies that you brought up like Daddy Daycare. I know.
There's a new movie out, right, on Netflix. Like You People, I think.
Yes,
Yeah,
actually,
so
it's
he's
been
still
getting-
around.
It's actually been getting a lot of buzz lately, both critically and audiences.
So it's
are
like
actually-
another remake of The Nutty Professor, or it's like featuring.
Oh
Eddie
no,
Murphy?
it's a brand new movie. It's with Jonah Hill. It's kind of like that movie Father of the Bride, but it actually goes into racial stereotypes of a Jewish family and a black family.
Oh, okay.
So like where these two people, it's a Jewish guy and a black girl. They're getting married, and their families are just having to kind of come together and kind of more clashing cultures with religions and stuff like that. Like one of them's Muslim, the other one they're Jewish. So kind of clashing on stuff like that, where just this poor couple, they're just wanting to get married.
Yeah, I think that's all the time we have. But up next, we'll be looking at waves after these messages.
Oh yeah.
The black truck? Hey, Christina from accounting.
Yeah, hi.
Hey, I used to date a girl named Christina.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and then she dumped me for my best friend. You want to see some photos of them that I took?
I don't.
I thought we talked about this, buddy.
Buzz and overshared again?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna call a car.
That's a smart idea.
So yeah, I know, that's why I did it.
Hey, you're gonna get back to the top of the mountain.
Does that mean I'm gonna get back with Christina?
No.
Oh.
No.
Hello, the film I'm going to talk about today is called Waves. Now this film is it's a little difficult to describe what's going on, only as it's, well, there's a lot that goes on, and there's actually very little that goes on. It's a bit of a slice of life, but the best way I could describe it is a family in turmoil and what they have to do to get back together. Let's check out the trailer for Waves.
Love is patient. Love is kind. Love is not rude. It doesn't boast. Love also forgets wrong.
I will always love you how I do.
It's been hard, hasn't it?
Let go of a prayer for you.
How you doing with everything?
I'm good. Just a sweet word.
You know it's okay if you're not.
The table is prepared for you.
I'm trying to give you the tools to succeed in this world. It's not easy out there. Everything I do is for y'all. Everything.
I know you're under a lot of pressure right now, but I'm just getting really scared.
But you'll have this place to call home.
Everything's gonna be okay, all right?
Always.
We're in this together.
You pushed him!
Lord knows I've held on to way too much hate in my life. But all we have is now. All we have is now.
Hello, welcome back. And yeah, Waves. I mean, I don't think anybody walks out of watching this movie without any opinion. So,
well,
what do you
guess
guys
I'm the
thinking?
only one because it's 2 hours long and I did not have time. So I'm going to let you two take care of the conversation.
Well, for starters, I was very pleased to watch this movie as soon as I looked up the cast listing. I always like to do a little research before watching a movie. But I saw that it was had Sterling K. Brown as the father in the movie. I believe his name was Ronald. That immediately was like, I'm in. He is, honestly, no joke, my favorite actor in the industry right now. He can do literally anything. My favorite performance is probably The People vs. O.J. Simpson. He was in that, as well as a few appearances on like Supernatural when he was just getting started. But he really is one of my favorite actors. He's funny. He can be dramatic. He can be very sympathetic. He can be downright scary even. But he's recently done a comedy where he proved he's actually hilarious too. And
oh yeah.
So seeing him in this movie as like the kind of an overbearing patriarch was, I've never actually seen him do that yet, but I was like, I knew he was going to do great at it, and lo and behold, he was wonderful in the movie. But this movie did make me very uncomfortable in several ways, because they do go into like pressures when you're a teenager and all the things that you might have to go through. His dad even brings up how, you know, since they're black, they do have to work harder to get what they have, because they are a well-off family, but that's because they worked really hard to get there. And he points out, you know, this could all go away really quickly if we just settle. We can't do that.
Yeah, you know, something that I really enjoy about this movie is the cinematography. It's such a beautiful movie, and it was shot. I don't know how much the budget was, but it was a really small budget.
I believe it was around $2.5 million.
Yeah.
Which that sounds like a lot, but for an independent film and the location they filmed at, and the fact they actually do have some pretty big name actors in it, like not just Sterling K. Brown, but the actor who plays his daughter. She's actually got a pretty good career. They got one of the actors from Euphoria to be in the movie as well. So his So they probably took a big paycheck cut because they just believe in the script, which actually happens a lot. But
Okay, if someone hasn't seen the movie, I'm sorry, I didn't have time. 2 hours. So what's the what's the general push and narrative? Is it like just going from one, I guess, issue to another issue? Is it like mini stories that are connected at the end? Like, how is like the story structure?
overall, there are like two main stories between the two siblings. The first half is about the brother, who is on the wrestling team, but he's hiding an injury called slap on his shoulder.
What's slap?
Slap is basically like a tear, I think, in the ligament of your of a ligament, and he has slap on his shoulder like stage 5, which is like the highest you can go, and he's hiding it from everyone. He's like taking painkillers from his dad because I think his dad has a bad knee, so he's been like sneaking painkillers so he could try to push through the season. But of course, his doctor says like you need surgery for this, or it could be permanent damage. Heck, it's still probably going to cause a lot of permanent damage from the surgery, but it could heal better. But he hides it, and as a result, he gets in a bad injury during a wrestling match, and he's permanently injured. Same time, his girlfriend finds out she's pregnant. That causes a rift between them, and that kind of leads to some of the domestic abuse I was talking about, where the two of them, they get some really bad screaming matches, and even start hitting each other. Like it gets very uncomfortable, and it leads to the point where he gets off the deep end. We did say spoilers ahead.
Yeah.
Where he accidentally kills her at a party. Like she hits him, he hits back and pushes her against something, and she hits her head, and he just instead of calling an ambulance, he runs away. And then the second half is his sister, who's basically just dealing with the situation, the family kind of in turmoil, trying to put themselves back together after such a big tragedy like that happening.
And the thing that I love about this movie is the aspect ratio actually gets smaller.
It does.
And as he feels more and more confined, and then it starts widening again on the second half when the family starts coming back together.
Okay, just a question, because you described a lot at me with how much the dude's coming, what he's doing.
Yeah.
Like first, it's like, okay, I got to deal with this special thing in my arm that's like hurting. I need surgery. My girlfriend's pregnant.
He's also working for his dad as well. Yeah. Like his parents have like this, I think a construction company.
Yeah.
He's actually helping to work on that as well. His dad points out, he makes a good point. It's like, you chose this. You asked to work for us. You asked to be on the wrestling team. You asked me to train you, so you got to balance it. You asked, and it's like, to be fair, I get that, but he really should have tried to talk to his parents about what he was going through, and I think that was it. It was like he just was uncomfortable talking to them about it, and that's what caused this major spiraling downturn that did end up almost ruining their family. It definitely ruined his life because he ended up having to go to prison for life for second-degree murder.
Okay, so somebody who hasn't seen the movie, hearing all this stuff, because when it comes to dramas like this, there's a lot of conflict. I guess my only issue with some dramas that I've seen is where they just add too much on one person, where the point where it's like, okay, I know I'm trying to feel bad for this person. I know you're trying to, I guess, extend the time, but it's like, how many issues are we going to pile on this one person on this movie? It's like, did it ever get to a point where it's like, okay, this is like too much conflict and too much drama you're putting in? Or is it like a nice flow to it where, okay, this naturally makes sense for this to be happening?
Actually, there is a nice flow to it. It's not like he's always working, because there are several times where he's out hanging out with friends and partying, stuff like that. He actually does have, ironically, a bit of balance. His doctor said, you just have to give up wrestling because of your shoulder injury, and he's just like, I don't want to.
Okay.
Plain and simple is like, he's just like, no, I don't want to.
They like really bad communication issues. Because I see that with some dramas where it's like, you could have easily solved this with a conversation, and I don't know why you're getting mad.
I think he was more afraid of his dad. Like, his dad's not abusive. He's just a little overbearing. Like, he's really just trying to push his kids to be the best they can be. But in the end, that made him kind of scared to talk to him properly about what was going on.
Okay.
I think the beginning really sets the stage really well, because we start off with this camera that's just spinning. It's very slow at first. It's kind of cool because they're like I think you mentioned it kind of feels like a music video because they're singing along to a song. It's probably something. And the soundtrack for this movie is just insane. But I think what makes the opening so great is that it's just this constant spinning, and so we kind of get it into his head how he feels like he's spinning out of control. after his entire life.
Right. After we take a short break, we'll be looking at our last movie, Bad Boys for Life.
My Shiro doesn't always wear a cape, but she always has time for a hug, a smile, for going the extra mile. My Shiro stretches every dollar, puts in long hours, puts others first. But now it's your time, Mom. When you're ready to retire, we want you to be able to enjoy it. It's time to start saving now. A free 3-minute online chat can give you the personalized tips you need to start boosting your retirement savings today. Visit aceyourretirement.org/Shiro.
Bad Boys for Life came out in early January of 2020, right before everything started getting shut down, so this is one of the last commercially successful movies of that year to be released in theaters. And I gotta say, this movie have every ingredient to not be very good, but end up being my favorite in the entire trilogy. It makes me excited for a possible 4th film. Let's take a look at the trailer.
Marcus, somebody's trying to kill me. Who don't want to kill him? Hell, put my name up there. Thank you, Marcus. We appreciate that.
He betrayed me. I want him dead.
This is personal. They're ruthless like me. They're crazy like me. Damn you, Mike!
Tonight's like
we ride together. I don't want to die together. Oh, that is hand-stitched leather. You better drink it.
Basically, like I said, this movie had every ingredient for a bad film. I'm just going to try to list them off. It was an action comedy sequel that came out 15 years too late from the second one.
These two brothers are old.
Yeah, they are.
Or just the fact that sequels that take that long usually don't end up being very good. But also, Martin Lawrence hadn't had a good movie in about 15 years.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody loves Martin Lawrence, but the last thing I remember the brother being in was like this movie where he was like messing around with the Black Knight. That's pretty much the only thing I remember
someone was actually
him
talking
doing.
about the Black Knight.
I think that came out in the 2000s. Will Smith at the time, he didn't really have a lot of financially or critically praised movies, like Suicide Squad or Bright or Gemini Man.
Oh, okay.
So,
you just brought up Bright, and
plus,
it just has me give me some flashbacks.
Plus, it had a different director. Yeah. Granted, the director of the first two movies, Michael Bay, he's kind of a hack. So I was actually more thankful for that one. But normally, when you have a long-awaited sequel with a different director, it's normally not seen as very good.
Come on, you don't love those explosions?
But my God.
Yeah, this
Bad Boys for Life was fantastic. I was lucky enough to see it in theaters right before the pandemic hit, and I loved every minute of this movie, and I don't know how it worked, but it did.
I mean, the thing is that, yes, this is not related, but another movie that did the same thing was actually the recent Puss in Boots movie.
I haven't seen that one.
Oh, yeah, so basically it's the same thing of, hey, we haven't done a sequel in a long time, but we're bringing everybody back, and I know they're older, and this might not be a cash grab, but we're still going to do it.
Was that any good?
It was.
Really?
Yes, it was fantastic.
Huh.
It actually has some depth in it. And it was actually inspired by, it actually has the same animation style as Spider-Verse.
Really? Okay.
I know, but other than Puss in Boots, we're talking about Bad Boys for Life. and the thing about this movie is that it really doesn't feel like Will Smith or Martin Lawrence have missed any steps when it comes to their conversations.
Don't miss a beat.
Honestly, it felt so natural. It felt like they never separated.
It just felt to me, it felt like, me and my brother or some of my uncles, they haven't seen each other in a while, but when they get together, they just start, talking some mess, acting up, being friendly with the family. They really act like old friends, where Martin Lawrence, at this time just wants to sit down, relax, be with his grandbaby.
I sympathize with him so much in this film.
He's like my dad, the one where he's like, look, I ain't want to do nothing. I ain't getting no job. I just want to sit down, watch TV, and just be with my grandchildren, and that's just it.
This movie had a lot going against it. The first two movies are so iconic,
They're dumb, but they're fun. They're so much fun.
Yeah, and I remember watching the first two just growing up, and so there was a lot for me that was riding on it. It's not only just nostalgia, but I was like, it needs to go past that. It needs to offer something new.
Question.
Which I think it did.
Question. So we saw the trailers and everything. Did it make you less excited or more excited?
Actually,
or did you give you a little bit of hope? There's something there.
Yeah.
But it was actually a moment in the trailers where I was like, okay, this looks good, but I remember there's one ending at the trailers where they were doing like, you know, that Bad Boys for Life song. And I was like, please don't tell me y'all gonna put that in the movie. And that's gonna be the sense of this movie because I don't want to be like, hey guys, wink wink, remember this? And it's like, no, I don't.
It did give me a lot of hope actually, because honestly, I've been wanting this movie to come out for a long time. They ironically made a spin-off show that nobody knows about. I think it's called LA's Finest with Martin Lawrence's sister from the second film.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Like, nobody's seen it. So I'm like, how did this get off the ground, but Bad Boys 3 hasn't? Because, like, anytime I mention Bad Boys, somebody's like, have you watched the TV show? And people are like, there's a TV show? It's like, actually, yeah, there is. I haven't seen it yet. I actually heard it's okay.
Speaking of another, like, you know, duo, you know, on the crime scene, there's actually a Rush Hour TV show that didn't even star Jackie Chan or...
That was supposed
Chris
to be a
Tucker?
reboot.
Yeah, Chris Tucker.
Yeah.
It was just like...
Apparently, they are working on a fourth one for that.
I heard about this too, yeah.
You know what? If Bad Boys for Life can work, they can make another Rush Hour 4.
I mean,
maybe Jackie Chan's too old.
That's what I'm doing with
Yeah.
Jackie Chan. Jackie Chan's doctor told him, stop. They basically just told him, please don't.
But they brought back Harrison Ford for Indiana Jones.
Honestly, I'm thinking...
6? Is it 6?
I have the same 5. I have the same reaction for that. Just Harrison, please stop.
Yeah.
Hey, look, we can't judge a book by its cover unless we don't see it. But going back to Bad Boys, like, you know, I actually seen this movie watching the first 2 Bad Boys at the same time because I never seen the Bad Boys growing up. I've seen other like crime films. Like there was one Martin Lawrence did. I can't remember it. I think it was called Security something. Or it was Martin Lawrence and this
I know
another
what you're talking about.
white actor.
I think it's where he like lost his memory or something.
No, that wasn't it. It was something else. But yeah, Martin Lawrence did a lot. But
So, yeah.
I know basically this movie just shows that, hey, look, you can bring anything back as long as you have something called a script and something called an idea.
And you have fun with it. That was the biggest thing is Martin Lawrence was the big standout. That's what I was most worried about because I was like, I thought I kind of saw him as like kind of a washed-up comedian because he hasn't really done anything good in a long time.
And also, people were like making like fat jokes about him because they know he put on
He's
some
gotten
weight.
older. Like,
yeah, I mean, look, I'm not saying I felt that way, but you know, there were some people who were like, "Man, the brother did like put on a few pounds." I'm like, "Come on, he's been like 15 years. He's older." And besides, they do play it up in the movie that he's not as fast as Will Smith. And he even talks to, you know, his boy Will Smith and be like, "Hey man, like, can we just relax? Like, I'm trying to move on with my life and you trying to bring me up in all your nonsense. Can we just sit down for a second?"
Yeah, it was comfort weight. That's how I saw it. But he ended up being hilarious in the movie, but didn't take away from some really tender moments. That's what makes this movie so great. And Bad Boys is one of the few action trilogies, possibly with a +1 coming soon, where it got better with each film. Because the first one's actually my least favorite. But I thought the second one was better. Now the third one, I think, is actually my favorite in the whole trilogy.
So this is one of those movies where it just got better over time. While you see other movies like Die Hard where they just got worse.
Oh, Die Hard, I think, has got... Oh, the Die Hard franchise over time.
Yes.
With each past sequel, got worse and worse.
No, not the movie. I meant the franchise.
Yeah, the franchise got really bad. But with Bad Boys, it got better. Yeah. It really did.
I mean, it's just, I mean, again, going back to the whole Hollywood thing, Hollywood likes to do this thing where it's like, you know what, that was a nice movie, but can you make a second one? Can you make it a trilogy? But now it's like, hey, can you make it a universe? And it's like...
That's true.
And a lot of times I think Hollywood, I believe that a lot of directors and scriptwriters and the cast, everyone wants to make a good movie. Everyone wants to, you know, make a good movie at the same time, you know, pay their bills, but you always have those executives on the back of your shoulder be like, can you do this? Can you do this? Could you like dial it back on the smartness? Can you make it more quote unquote dumber? Can you put more action in here? But we don't need more action. Yeah, but you know how the audience is. And a lot of times Hollywood treats the audience as dumb where it's like, no, you have to like pander this way, then that way. But it's like, no, as long as you have a good script, you have good actors, you actually care about something, you can actually make a good movie even though it was a sequel to a movie that came out like 15 years ago.
Yeah.
I think what's so crazy about this movie is that the action scenes are just so good. They're so good.
Oh, they're so much better than what Michael Bay's been doing recently. That's why I was so glad he wasn't directing this one. Because I was like, back then, his movies were dumb but fun, like The Rock or Apocalypse. I mean, not Apocalypse, Armageddon, and the Bad Boys movies. But he lost his touch. I'm so glad that we had a different director who knew what they were doing and knew to keep the fun.
Yeah,
because this was fun.
Well, let's not try to blow up this thing as we did Michael Bay. Well, that's been all the time we have. Thank you so much for joining us and helping us celebrate Black History Month. Join us next week where we talk about a different kind of universe, the Marvel Universe, as I may add, and we're going to be talking about all of our favorite movies. Until then, hope you guys have a good one.